time, right on time. Welcome to Berea Babes, where theology matters. I'm your host, Vali Chikune. I'm always late, but today I made it right on the dot, plus a minute to spare. So I better get my likes for doing that. So today I do have a special guest that I'm gonna you guys to get to know to meet. It's Ari. So let's bring Ari on. What's up,
Hi,
girl? How are you?
guys. Hi, I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad that you're here. This is the second time that you're here. So
Yes, I'm so
big
excited.
you be counting. This is the second time. Then we need to have a third time,
Yes,
A third time. A third time having Ari. But I'm so glad that you're here. So
thank you
tell
for
us about
having me.
yourself.
Well, I am Ariel. A lot of people call me Ari, so that's what I made my name. And I am a stay-at-home mom of my three kids. Their ages are 8, 5. My 5-year-old, she's about to be 6 in a month. I am not ready.
Mm.
And my youngest is 4. And I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 8 years. And I have been married to my husband for 12 years now, and
Oh,
very, very
wonderful.
thankful to be a stay-at-home mom and get to raise my babies.
That's nice. That's
Thanks.
nice. That's nice. That's nice. So wow, man, you stay home. It's gonna be 6 years old. Once they get 6, then the
Oh,
next minute it's gonna be 10, and
I
before you know
know.
it, that's it. The teenagers, like sometimes you just want them like just to stay as babies, but like
Yes.
because once they
Oh,
start
yeah.
growing, it's almost like okay, time is going so fast, yeah. So I can understand that, but that's so good. So yeah, so today we want to talk about homeschooling, and we're going to touch a little bit about home management, especially right now. Like the homeschooling has actually, I guess, because of the pandemic, the
Mhm.
number of people who study homeschooling is just gone up, which I
Oh,
do think it's a good thing.
yeah.
And so, what led you into homeschooling from the get go?
Well, I have been homeschooling now for, let's see, this is my 4th year, the end of my 4th year.
Oh, look at you
Um,
becoming a pro of
I feel like
homeschooling.
it a little bit. I'm working on learning so much more. But this is the end of my 4th year of homeschooling, and my husband and I, we had decided on that long before we had kids, that we
Mhm,
had hoped to homeschool our kids and get to lay a biblical and godly foundation for our kids, and to
mhm.
be able to have that freedom to teach them things from Scripture, and not having to expose them to things too early at their age, but also getting to teach them those things that public schools do expose kids to, but getting to teach them from a biblical standpoint, and also teaching them at the age level that they need to be taught at, not doing things too early. So yeah, I am very, very thankful that we are able to do that, and it's been a joy.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I do like that the idea that that was something that you guys decided to do long before babies came along. So
Yeah.
when that happened, it was just like, okay, we know what we
Yes.
need to do, so to speak. Because I think, sometimes people, I don't know, like people end up homeschooling out of necessity, or something happens and be like, oh boom, let's
Yeah.
homeschool. But I think that's a good idea, that was the vision that you guys had long
Yeah.
before you had babies. So I think that's good, because like you know exactly
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Like, okay, if it's going to be homeschool, I'm going to be stay home mom, like
Yes.
teaching the kids and everything else. So what were concerns that you maybe others shared with you about your choice for homeschooling? Like, was it
Mhm.
because I'm thinking, like, you're young, you don't have kids, you're about to get married, you're already making that decision, right? You're telling your girlfriend, like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna homeschool my kids. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what? Why would you do that? So
Oh, yeah.
that should definitely come with some objections.
Absolutely. Well, actually, just a quick backstory. My husband and I
Mhm.
met him in high school. I was 20 and he was 21 when we got
Oh,
married.
high school sweetheart.
So, yes, he
Okay.
is my high
Nice.
school sweetheart.
Nice.
So, for us being so young, and having already made the decision, like, this is our intention when we have kids, I knew I had wanted to stay home, and get to be with my kids. I've worked
Mm.
in daycare prior to that, so I knew how good and yet bad things could be, and so I was like,
Mhm.
"I wanna do it myself. I don't wanna trust somebody else to watch my kids and to hope that they would raise them well." But for us, we basically we decided to do that, and people gave us a lot of slack for it. We had heard things such as, how are you going to be able to teach your kids? You're not a teacher yourself. You never went to school for that. So, how do you think you are going to be equipped to be able to train your children well, um, and be a proper teacher when you don't have a degree? And you don't actually need one to be a homeschooling parent, which for me, once I had really looked into it and talked to other homeschooling moms, I was like, I know I can do this. Like, if these women who have no degree, they've done it, and their kids, especially meeting these incredible kids who were teenagers
Mm.
and they knew how to interact with people and they were just so brilliant. I'm like, "Oh, I can do it if they can.
Do
I
it. You can
can
also
learn how to
do it.
do this and we will figure this
Uh,
out." Um, we had also gotten a lot of, your kid's going to be really socially awkward. They're not going to interact with people. They're going to be at family parties and be stuck in a corner reading a book and not know how to talk to people. And they're going to be basically nerdy kids. And
uh,
so, what's the problem with that? Like, what's
I
wrong
know.
with a kid who wants to learn and who
Uh,
wants and has a desire and passion for education? So, for us, we were like, well, that may be the case if they want to read, but also their personality has nothing to do with education, so to speak. Like, that's not
mm.
what creates a personality. I'm very extroverted. I love to talk to people. I can go
You
anywhere and
sure do.
I can start a conversation with anybody. My husband, he's more introverted. He is extroverted with people he's comfortable with, but he's more introverted. And we were both public school, and I also went to private school for a couple years when I was a kid. So that has nothing to do with the personality, unless someone chooses to be more introverted and they kind of teach their kids to be more reserved. Maybe that
Mhm.
can have a foundation. But I do know a lot of people who are introverted and their kids are like so outspoken and they're not even homeschooled. So that was something that I was like, that's not going to stop us from doing it. Kids can socialize in many, many, many ways, which I'll talk about later. But yeah,
Yeah, so oh yeah, oh thank you for coming in. 'Cause it says I was socially awkward and I went to a public school. Lots of friends
yeah,
and were too. Yeah,
yeah,
so I think this is the prevailing excuses that most people do say, like, okay, if you
yes,
homeschool your kids, they're going to be socially awkward. You know what I'm saying? So it's
absolutely.
just like, so unless if you're telling me that them being socially awkward outweighs the benefits of them being homeschooled, then okay, fine, put them in public school. Plus, we do know the public schools today are not the public school even 20 years ago or 30 years ago, right? Because there
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
difference. So it's not just a matter of uh, having an issue with the public school, but it's the things that are going on in a public school. So, if
yeah,
anything, I mean, if you have to sacrifice socially awkward your child at the expense of the things that's being taught in
yeah,
public school, I mean, like, why not, right? Because it's not;
yeah,
those are the things that are going to stay with your child. It's no longer learning anymore; they are indoctrinating these children, and you have no control, you have no say
yeah,
on what they're going to be taught, right? So I do think it is a big deal to uh to have good reasons why you're sending them to the public school, right?
yeah,
And good reason why you're homeschooling, like what's which is better, because like even a statistic do prove that kids who are homeschooling do better versus kids who do go
yeah,
to public school, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think unfortunately with people making their main reason to not put their kids or keep them home to homeschool and wanting to put them into public school, that has always been the number one reason that I've heard is socialization. But
yes.
I will tell you, I went to public school for most of my years from second to 12th grade, and I got in trouble more than I can count for all my
I
socializing. Oh, all the time. I never got suspended or anything, but
get
I had to stay after class, and yeah, I got in trouble all the time for talking and corrected probably once or twice every single class. So,
in
talk about socializing. I got in trouble for it. So, was not the best thing.
Yeah, I think so. Now that you are home, um, so already, because like you guys already had that decision, right? Like where you're going to homeschool. So you haven't experienced putting your kids in the public school. Plus
Yeah,
they're still young. But like this
yeah,
is the issue where people um they've never homeschooled before, or they had the kids in the public school. Now they've pulled them from the public school. Now they're homeschooling,
mhm,
especially during the pandemic. Most parents
yeah,
decided, you know what, I'm just gonna stay home. I'm already working from home. I'm just going to homeschool my kids. And some
mhm,
parents have actually just ended up quitting their job because they find out that the stuff that their kids are learning is not something that they would want
yeah,
their kids to be learning. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I think the idea of not knowing what's being taught in the public school,
yeah,
it's also an issue because some people they just they could homeschool but they don't know that the public school is as bad as they are. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like where it will force people, because I know people who've never homeschooled in their life before, but just learning the things that are going on, they just decided, you know what,
yeah,
we are going to homeschool.
yeah,
And the other thing that I'm also hearing that's being a pushback, I don't know if you've heard this, is especially in the Christian circles, right? Like when people are homeschooling their kids, the objection is, oh, just because you homeschool your child, that doesn't mean it's going to know the Lord. That doesn't mean
mhm,
your child is going to be a born again Christian. So you know what?
yeah,
You might as well send them to the public school.
yeah,
Uh, Even so, that send them to a public school. That way they can evangelize their friends in the public school. Like, what's your
mhm.
take on that?
Well, I do not recommend that. I just personally, I mean, I was one of those kids. It's not like I had a choice with public or being homeschooled or anything like that. Because so I went to private school for a couple years when I was a
Mm,
kid. The school that I was at had closed down. My parents split, and then I was living with my grandparents, and there was an elementary school, middle school down the street. So that was the option. That's where I went. And I enjoyed my time there, but obviously the things I was exposed to, the things I did, not the best. And I came to Christ, truly came to Christ when I was in high school in 2005. So from there, I was the kid who was walking around with shirts talking about Jesus on it. My brother, he used to make shirts, and so I loved it. He would make me shirts. I had one that said I'm taken, and on the back it said by Jesus.
oh,
And so
nice.
I would I think I might still actually have the shirt. I think I do. I was like, I loved it. It was such a fun shirt. And I used to proudly walk around school wearing this shirt. And I was able to kind of, be able to do that and be some sort of a light. But at the same time,
Mm,
it was very hard, very discouraging. I got made fun of a lot by people. They're like, oh, look at this weird Christian girl, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yes.
I was by no means, I was not the cool kid at all. I knew a bunch of people. So, like, I knew enough people that like enough of the cool kids that I was fine, but at the same time I got made fun of all the time for this, and it was hard to be an example to others when you're
Mm,
constantly being trashed on for your faith in the Lord and for trying to get to share that with others. And it's also very hard to sit there and be able to be bold in front of others.
mm.
you have very limited time for socialization. So it's not like you can sit there sharing the gospel for everybody or with everybody. So my encounters with getting to kind of express my faith was very limited. My people could see based on the shirts that I wore, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's not like I had tons of them. So it's like not many people knew. I think the approach can mildly work for some, if they are not in, or if they really like are super super bold in their faith. But even then it's very hard because the pressures of the world are constantly around them. And public school,
Yes.
I mean, I graduated in 2007, so what, I'm coming up on 15 years since my graduation. Schools are so different from when I
Yeah, they are.
graduated. So things, I mean, are much more pressed upon kids to try things that are just not appropriate, that are straight up sinful, or things that they should have no business being a part of and knowing about. Um,
Mm.
Thank you, Bible believer. I appreciate it. So, it's so important that we are standing firm on our faith. And I do not recommend parents to be like, oh, my kid's going to be salt and light. Like, it's hard to do that with so many people pressing on you, peer pressure, and to try things. And now a lot of things are going on with the LGBTQ stuff, and they're
Mm.
pushing that on elementary school kids, on high schoolers. And if someone says you're straight, a lot of times they say, well, how do you know if you haven't tried? So it encourages kids to try
Oh,
things
yeah.
that they are not normally wanting to think about or try. And
Mm.
obviously a lot of TV shows have that stuff too, so I do not recommend it at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is actually like in Virginia, parents had to, petition at the school board and everything. This is what
Yeah,
pushed for these women to vote for the new governor right now, because like there
yeah,
was a
yeah,
book that was in the library, and I
heard.
mean the pictures that are in there, I was just like,
Mhm.
I could not believe my eyes. I'm like,
Yeah,
anybody, you don't even have to be a Christian to see that there is no way you want any child to be looking at this, right?
yes. Oh, yeah,
And
I mean, it's pornography that
it
they are
is
putting in the books,
pornography.
and they're trying to
Yeah,
say, "Well, kids should know," but I'm like, "You're teaching them things that they should not be seeing, like, these are
yeah.
babies," you know? So, it's not the same that it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Ugh,
I saw that. I was just like, it was just
yeah,
like, no, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
some stuff you think people are just making it up, but like when you see it and you'll be like, wait a minute, but like, why would you even do that? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, leave it alone. Like, if kids are gonna learn that, let them learn it on their own or from their parents or elsewhere. But it shouldn't be the school
yeah,
sanctioning this garbage. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Oh,
I just don't
absolutely.
think it's it's just evil. You know what I mean? Like, to
Oh,
me, those
yeah,
are the things that I
complete.
do see that it's definitely evil. And I also think the idea of parents just saying that, oh, I want my kid to be, I'm sending my kid to public school so that they should be able to evangelize their friends, right? So to me, that's number one. Okay, uh, is your child saved already? Like, does the child know the Lord?
Yeah, yeah,
So if your child doesn't know the Lord, how do you know that's exactly what's going to happen when they go to the high school? Because you have no
yeah,
time frame as to when they're going to come to know the Lord, right? And
absolutely.
also, like, you go to work every day. How many people have you evangelized in your workplace? So if
Yeah,
you haven't done those things in your workplace, what makes you think that your child is
so
going to
true,
be able to do that in a
so true.
public school? You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? And
absolutely.
so I'm like, parents are just saying those things, but I do think
Yeah,
most of them haven't thought through what it means in the current affairs of today,
yeah,
sending your child to a public school.
yeah,
I do get it. Like, okay, there are situations whereby there's only a single parent,
mhm,
they have to work,
yeah,
they, even if they wanted to, they just can't, because they have to provide for their kids, and they can't even afford to send their kids to a private school, a Christian private
yeah,
school.
yeah,
So that's the only option that they have. Like, okay, nobody can watch over my kids, I have to work to provide for my family. But
yeah,
these are exceptional cases, right? These are exceptional cases, but we know in a normal situation where a mom is at home, the dad is at home, the possibility of them homeschooling their kids are
Mhm.
definitely there. The
Yeah.
only thing that
Yeah.
sort of like stands in the way is just the material things. People will be like, oh, we cannot afford, we have two car payments. Well, downsize. We live in a three
Yeah.
bedroom house. Well, downsize. So it's the sacrifice that the parents should be willing to make in
Yeah.
order to invest in the future of their kids. Now, hey man, it's easier to have two cars than to be sharing one car. So
Yeah.
those are the things that are real. But are you willing to still send your kids to a public school just so you can maintain your two cars, just so you can maintain your big house, so to speak, right? Like, are there
Yeah.
things that you can adjust? So I understand somebody who is a single mom, she, even if she wanted to, she can't, as opposed to somebody who, they just want to keep the material things, they don't want
Mhm.
to sacrifice, so to speak. It's not easy. Like, who doesn't want the comfort, right? Everybody
Yeah.
wants the comfort, but as Christians, we're called to be sacrificing.
Absolutely. And actually, I was thinking of it there for a second. So even before I truly became a believer, um, like I, Amy Beth, you just mentioned it. Hey girl, by the way. So before I actually became a believer, I considered myself a Sunday Christian. So
Hmm.
I would go to church, put on a good show. You would believe I was a Christian, this and that. And the second I would get back into school on Monday, I was acting up, cursing left and right. Like it was just, it didn't matter. Like I knew when to put on a show, I knew when to fake it. And my family would have guessed nothing else. And they would have assumed, like, oh, yeah, she's definitely a believer. So it's like, if you know exactly what you want to hide, you're able to do it. And I was absolutely able to do it because I was being put into a public school where there's a bunch of unbelievers. And I wish, I mean, for myself, like thankfully I was okay in the sense that like I didn't, yeah, I did experience things I shouldn't have, but at the same time, like it was probably less than what kids would
Mm.
have today, in all honesty. But I mean, it's so easy to fake it. And so that's where I'm like, if kids are like you had mentioned, unless someone is truly a believer, like you cannot assume that your kid is saved just because they say that they are. Like there should be
Yes.
absolutely fruit of that before sending them there, and you know that they would be okay. And I agree. Yeah, there are those situations where you have to. I actually know a single mom who she has still homeschooled her kids and
Mhm.
very minimal money that she's making, but she is like, I will do anything to keep my kids out of that because she knows how toxic schools can be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah. My mom was a single mom and sent us to public school, and God providentially provided us with Christian teachers.
Yeah.
That's, this is beautiful. Thank you for sharing. These are the things that I've seen every time that you've done something as a Christian just to honor God in your convictions.
Mhm.
God has provided a way that you never
Absolutely.
even thought about it, because your
Absolutely.
priority was you want to honor God, right? Like
Yep.
that was what you want to do. Like, Lord, I know this is not a place I would want to be sending my kids. I need to work. I need to provide for my kids. I need to pay these bills. Like,
Yeah.
God will meet you at your point of your need. But like,
Yeah.
because we just don't see how God is going to do it, we don't trust God, then we find means and ways of doing it ourselves, so to speak. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Those are the things that I've seen.
Yeah.
News unit underground. Yes, there are plenty. There are plenty.
I love it.
There
Let's
are
find you a
plenty.
wife.
There are plenty. I'm telling you, there are plenty. Okay, lots of them. But there's plenty. Okay, it's good to know. Good godly brothers. Okay, there's plenty good
Yes.
godly sisters. So
Yes,
there's
yes.
plenty. Okay. Oh yeah, yes, exactly. Even what she says over here, like, yeah, it's not the only place where kids, even if
Yep.
of course, you want your kids to share the gospel, right? But that's not limited in the public school, exactly. So I
Yeah.
do agree. That's a very good point that you bring up there, and be fake. That's good. Yeah. So what about so Ari? So what
Yes.
about the things that you've heard, like the stigmas about homeschoolers? Because it's not like everybody celebrates. Like if somebody says they're homeschooled, just like, hey,
No.
people always looking at you. Oh, okay,
I do get a lot of people like, "Oh, okay."
What?
Like, "Hey, we love it." So obviously the biggest one is socialization,
Uh-huh.
which, hey, people, they have their say on that, but yeah, I know we'll get more into that in a little bit, but that is not necessary whatsoever, because you can socialize in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're getting out of your home normally, your kids will be socialized just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've also gotten a lot of your kids are not going to be around kids their ages, like you're separating them from children within their age range, which, yeah, that can be helpful. But I also notice a lot of kids who are only, in their age range and they don't know how to interact with
Mm-hmm.
other ages. Like if they're in high school, it's some kids like they don't know how to interact with toddlers or babies or elderly people. Whereas my kids, they're around all ages, so they can interact with anybody. Um, so I got the whole, are you sure you can teach? You don't have a degree. Sorry, that's stigmas. I've gotten that myself too. Another one of a stigma that I have heard is standardized testing. Like,
Uh-huh.
how do you know if
Yes,
your
yeah. Talk
kid
about
is
the
actually?
standardized testing because I've heard about that before. Mm.
Um, I don't know much about it at this point because my kids are still in elementary school, but I know that that is something that a lot of people have gotten themselves. That basically like they're not going to be tested quarterly or twice a year like they do in school. So how do you know that your kids are learning all this stuff? But your kids are, because you can teach them those things. And there are ways to find out exactly what they need to know, and then you can teach them those things. And then also, this kind of piggybacks off of that is how do you know if they're learning the right stuff for their
Hmm.
age range or their grade level? So, which is some stuff I'll get into as we talk about some other things.
Yeah. So now, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Go ahead, say something. I actually did have something in my head like this was.
Well, we talked about the stigmas. We talked about things people have, the concerns that they had for us when we decided to homeschool.
Uh-huh.
But I can kind of tell you how you begin to homeschool.
Yes, 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 yes. Let's talk about that. Like,
So,
so do you have to be a teacher to homeschool your child? So tell
not
us, how
at
can
all.
somebody get into this game of homeschooling?
So you do not have to be a teacher whatsoever. Obviously, it helps if you were a former teacher or if you have worked with children before. And like I said, I've worked in daycare and at church. I've served in the nursery ever since I was a little kid. So I love children in general. I just enjoy talking to them, interacting with them, playing with them. Like it's just kids are amazing,
Mhm.
and you can teach them so much. So you don't have to have a degree whatsoever. But the first thing that you would do is always find out, according to state, what the rules and regulations are of your
Mhm.
state and your county. And that's a simple Google search of homeschool regulations for Maryland, since we are in Maryland and I'm in Baltimore County. So I just look up based on my county, and the every state is so different for what they
Mhm.
require. So I'll tell you guys, based off the state of Maryland, they require that you cover 8 subjects, which is normal, that line up with public schools. So that's math, English, science, and social studies. And then you have 4 electives, which are health, art, PE, and music. So you have to cover
Oh,
8 of
nice.
them, and you have to show proof that they are doing work in each of those 8 subjects 2 times a year. So I go through the county. So since I'm in Baltimore, I do a video review right now. Since COVID, they changed it from an in-person review at our
Mhm.
local library to now just doing it over a Zoom call, or I think they do it through Google, like a video chat. And so I send in copy of the work ahead of time. I take pictures of all my girls' work, and then
Mhm.
I email it to them so that way they can see it, they can save it for the proof that they are doing work required by their age and that there's improvement in that area. So you do that
Okay.
in the winter and the spring. So those are my 2 times a year that I do it. And so there are other options if you don't want to go through the county, which we are considering to change from the county to what's called an umbrella. So your state allows you to pick one or the other. And so you can do an umbrella through a church or just like separate. And basically, the umbrella is credited to be able to review your work for you. Basically, give you
Oh,
that check mark. They did the work that's required and they send that into the
okay.
county. So the county would then have no say, nothing. They just see the fact that the umbrella has checked you and that you're okay.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So do you get to pick
yeah.
which, okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Which
you
umbrella
can
that you have
pick
to use?
which one that you want, based on your county, and then basically you
Mhm.
get someone who's under that group, and then you either meet with them in person or some of them I know now are online, and then
Mhm.
they basically check your work, you check theirs, and then they write in the review for you or send in the approval, or let you know if you need any changes or anything like that. So the difference between the county and the umbrella is the
Uh-huh.
county you send it into them, they check you. At the end of it, your child, when it hits their senior year, they have to take a GED exam for it. But
Okay.
the end of the senior year for the umbrella route is they give you an accredited diploma. So you avoid any of the
Oh,
testing, which I've just recently learned this because we're starting to really look into the umbrella option. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. But the also there is a little difference. The county review process is free, whereas the umbrella there is a
you have to
little fee
pay.
for it, but
Okay.
it typically, from what I've seen, it covers the family. So I have 3 kids. So if I were to do it, I think the one that's local to me that we've been checking out is like $75 a year, and it would cover my 2 girls who are currently in school. Whereas
Mm.
in another 2 years, when my son joins, it would cover all 3 of them. So that would be $25 per kid for the whole year. And it basically allows us to have the say under the umbrella of this church umbrella that we could pick. And then they get to do the final approval and all that stuff. And I wouldn't have to go through the county. Whereas they can push a lot more of the public school curriculum,
Of course.
which I have had. So unfortunately,
Mm.
there was my one of my first reviews actually when my oldest, she's now in 3rd grade, and when she was in kindergarten, they were like, "Oh, well, when you put her in public school. So when you put her in public school," and I kid you not, the woman said it like 5, 6 times
Yes.
through 30 minutes. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's not going to
ah,
happen.
yeah, I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, I'm not planning to do that. And so she kept pushing it. And after that, I was like, I changed my reviewer, which you can do with the county.
Oh,
If you
that's
don't
good.
like who you have, you can switch. They have tons of them. So that was wonderful. But it's the county's
Mm.
work so far. You just do have to be understanding that they can give you a lot of guidance, but they can also do a lot of pushover from what the local public schools are pushing. They can
Okay.
push that on you too to be like, you should be doing X, Y, and Z when you may not actually have to. Um, but yeah, there are also groups that protect homeschooling families as well. There's
Mm.
one called the HSLDA.
Uh-huh.
I do not remember what it stands for, but they basically they'll come on your behalf and help you
Okay.
if you pay
Advocate for
them.
homeschoolers.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Okay.
believe that I think that they might have lawyers with it, but they can help you if you basically are having to go back and forth and the county or the state is pushing unregulated things on you. They can come
Mhm.
on your behalf to like defend you, to be like, you're overstepping. That
Okay.
is not acceptable. So, which is great. We have not had to use them, but I have read many stories where people have, and they've been a huge blessing.
Okay. Wow, that's good to know. Cause
Yeah.
like, in Germany, I think is it
Mhm.
Australia or Germany, like, homeschool, it's banned. I know for sure German homeschool,
Really?
it's banned. Yes, you can't homeschool. It's a
Mm.
crime to homeschool your children in Germany. Literally, it is.
Ooh, well, I won't be
Yes.
moving there.
Yes. So yes, they'll
Man.
come and get you. you will get in trouble. So there's no nothing like homeschool. So if
Yeah.
people, I'm sure there's people who still do it. Yeah? Just because it's banned, that doesn't mean people don't do it. But
Yeah.
if you get
Yeah.
caught and everything, you will pay the price.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
you will pay a price. So it's not it's not that idea whereby the count is also even forcing something, right? Like, okay, the kid is being homeschooled. I know for them they want to make sure it's no kid left behind, right? That
Yeah.
every kid is getting an education. So that's why to them they are pushing it in that way. But you know how things are changing every day, so sooner
Yeah.
or later be like, okay, because we're pushing, okay, we want the kids to, there's these whatever 300 gender pronouns. You also need to be teaching this to your kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
you start saying no to such things, who knows the way things are changing right now. So that's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So you want to share with us how do you begin homeschooling? Where does one start if somebody wants to do homeschool?
Well, that's where you check with your county first, your state,
Okay, check with
and
the
look
kind of
into
source.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I see Bible Believer here, they had actually mentioned about how you don't have to do anything in their state, and there's a
Oh, what
category
state are
where
you in, Bible believer, if you don't mind
yeah, it
sharing?
was like, I'm interested in
Because
that. I
every
know,
state do it
you don't have
differently.
I love it. You don't have to have a degree to teach. So true. Yeah, so there's some states locally, I think North Carolina, you
Yeah.
just have to basically mark that your kids did school for 180 days and that's all you have to prove. You don't have to show any paperwork, nothing outside of that. So yeah, you really do have to just look based on your state and what they require
Mm.
for you by state and get that sent into them. So that kind of checks off their box that your kid has or is getting an education. And every state actually they require kids to start at different ages too. In Maryland, if your child is age 5 by
Mm.
September, they have to begin that
Okay, so they
year.
still want them to maintain kind of like the public
Yeah,
school calendar, so to
yeah,
speak, even
yeah,
though you're homeschooling. So they are the same pace, so to speak, like the people, okay,
yeah,
like the public school. Okay, I do see. Yeah, I think they some people just don't have uh, b- they don't understand the benefits of homeschooling,
yeah,
so they don't see the need of homeschooling. So that's why it's so natural. Even like when people are looking for housing, people are moving, what's the first thing they're looking for? They're looking for a good school
yep,
district.
yep. Oh
So
yeah,
people are going to find out what is a good school district before they even find out if there is even a church in
yeah,
that area. So they
yeah,
move out and then they find, oh, no, behold, there isn't a church that we can go to. You know what I mean? Or the church is 1 hour, 2 hours away. So
yeah,
everything is always centered around uh, the education of a child, but not coming
yeah.
from parents, from somebody else, right? Like I know people who, if they're looking for a church, they're specifically looking for a church that has Sunday school. And it has to be a
Mhm,
good Sunday school. And they want to know what is it that they're teaching at the Sunday school.
mhm.
Well, it could be a good church. They don't have a Sunday school. They believe you need to be sitting with your parents, with your kids in the pews.
Yeah,
That's your responsibility to be teaching your
yeah,
children. So if parents can leave the responsibility of teaching their kids the things of the Lord, trust and believe they're going to do the same thing when it comes to their education.
yeah,
So, because things just don't happen in a vacuum, right? Because like, if you're
yeah,
looking for a Sunday school, you're also going to be looking for so-called a public school. But you'll be like, if you want to be teaching your kids the schoolwork, oh, why? I mean, like the soul of your child depends on it. Why
it's
leave it up
actually
to you?
it's funny you say that because our church during service, like during
Mm,
corporate worship, we actually do not have a kids Sunday school class.
yes.
We have corporate worship and it is for everybody. We have a nursery open in case like, a little
Yeah,
baby
people crying
wants to be
whatsoever.
in there.
Like,
But other
mhm.
than that,
You're
like
not dumping your child there and
it's
they're like, oh, just gonna drop them at
no,
the Sunday
no,
school whole thing.
no. Parents are required, and they want them to because we should not be separating kids. And I know that many churches don't believe in that.
Yes,
I
yeah.
grew up
Yeah.
in separate services all the time, all that stuff.
Mm.
But now having kids of my own, I'm like, I love getting to have them there. Yes, it took absolute time to teach my kids how to sit through
In the
service,
church
and
service.
that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
And it took time to teach them that. But now, from ages 4 to 8, like my kids, they sit through service. They know what is expected of them every week in
Mm.
church. We're like, all right, guys, what are we to do during service? Let's talk about it. And they're all shouting out answers. So
Yes.
and remind them what is expected of them. We are going to sit together. We are going to listen to the sermon. We're going to participate in worship. But it's beautiful getting to do that with them. And then after, they do have Sunday school classes that are separated for the adults, for the
Mhm.
kids. All the kids are together, and then they separate them based on age. So in that way they can teach them a
Mhm.
little lesson based on their
Yes.
age range.
Mm.
But pretty much the whole time we're all together. It's maybe
Mhm.
that 30 minutes where they're separated.
It's
Um, but other than that, I'm like, I love that, because I don't want my kids to feel like, oh, you're too young, you can't be a part of this. Like, we've had to teach them hard lessons that I was not expecting to teach them at such a young age. But I'm like, okay, we just have to teach them, and we have to
Yes.
teach them according to their age range. I can't expose them to all the crazies of the world and all the
Yeah.
stuff going on, and just dump that on a child when they're not prepared for that, and they don't understand how to handle that stuff. So they'll learn a whole lot just when they're ready.
Well, they're with Ari. They better learn. They better learn. They better learn. So I do think some of these things, it's because one, to me, I've seen things people just do out of ignorance because people just don't know. It's
Yeah,
just norm, right? Like, okay, you're 6 years old, you're going to start first grade, right? That's what
yeah,
you're gonna do. We're gonna send you to school. Okay, if we go to church, okay, we go to the nursery, we go to the Sunday school, we
yeah,
do this, right? Okay, then it's time for you. You go to high school, you apply, you go to college. Those are the things that we're just doing, but we're not putting thought behind it. You see what I mean?
yeah,
So these are the things that, like, you got to understand, like, okay, this is a family. What is the responsibility of the family? What is the responsibility of the church? And what is the responsibility of the government? And what is the responsibility of you as a citizen? You know what I mean?
mhm,
It's not just once in 4 years when you have to vote for the presidential candidate, so to speak, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
all of your life has to be guided by a biblical worldview. So you know
yeah,
the reason why you're sending your kid to that particular school.
yeah,
Why are you going to that particular church? Why are you sitting in church? You know, all those things, like how do you choose to go to this church versus this church? All those things are things that I need to be thought through. You know what I mean? Because they
absolutely.
all do have consequences. Because sometimes parents, they are in church, right? They are learning, and the
Mm,
kids will be, especially now with the deconstruction, right? They'll be like, "Oh, I grew up in a church." You know what I mean? I grew up, whatever it was, Baptist church. But what
yeah,
happened? Every Sunday they went to church. They were not sitting with their parents. They
yeah,
were in a Sunday school being taught by youth, whatever the case may be. Now they
yeah,
go to college. Guess what? They denounce their faith, or they deconstruct it, and the parents are wondering, "Wait a minute! But every Sunday we went to church. What's happening with your son?"
yeah,
Like, well, yes, every Sunday you went to church, but what is it that your child learned those every Sunday that you went to church? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just the response, just because you go to church every Sunday, you still have a responsibility to instill uh the word of God in your children, you yourself
absolutely,
as parents, right? Whatever you're
absolutely.
going to get from the pastor, that's just extra, that's just bonus, so to speak. So
Yeah,
those are the things that I do see, that it's just assumed just because you went to church equals you're gonna, it's going to end up this way or end up that particular
yeah,
way. I grew up in a church, but I didn't know that I wasn't saved. If you ask me, I would have told you, yes, I'm a Christian, but I
yeah,
wasn't. So those are the things that definitely can happen. So
yeah.
what does you share with us? What is your daily and weekly schedule look like for homeschooling?
So, one of the benefits of homeschooling is
Mhm.
you do have the freedom to do it the way that you would like. You do not have to do it 5 times a week if you don't need to. Like
Oh,
my
okay. You just
kids,
take a
which is great.
vacation.
That's see, I like you and I, we met up a couple months ago in Pennsylvania. We did stuff. I brought my kids'
Yeah,
stuff
your
with
kids, and they
me,
were being
and they were
homeschooled
doing
right
their
there.
school, you know? So it was like,
Mhm.
all right, we're gonna get stuff done. You and I were able to sit on the side with Flora, and we were able to have that time together while I could still check in, get stuff done, and my daughter was
Mm.
still getting her schoolwork taken care of,
Yeah,
which is beautiful. But then my kids have all been sick this week. And so we've taken 2 days off and we've done it the last 3 days. So that is one of my favorite parts of homeschooling, honestly, is getting that freedom to balance our schedule based on what we have planned for the week.
that's
And
nice.
it allows us time to put in play dates if we need to have time of fellowship with friends. If we're like, all right, this is not working well for us, we're going to adjust, totally
Mm.
fine. But on our normal homeschooling day, what we like to do, I have a carpet over here in the corner. We do a little, we do like a good morning wake up song after we do our breakfast in the morning. We come down and I love it. We can all be in our PJs. It's beautiful.
Oh, look at
No one has to get all
that.
fancy done up. Nope, we're in
Uh-huh.
PJs. I'm enjoying a cup of coffee with
No
my
school
kid.
bus.
Not at all. We can enjoy ourselves and just be comfortable. So we'll do like a morning, good morning song. They'll get their wiggles out, and then we'll sit down, do some carpet time, and they all get to pick a song that they would like to sing in the morning. So although my older girls, they've known their ABCs for years, we were
Mm,
working on it a lot more this year because my son, who was in preschool, I wanted to make sure he was learning that. So it's
that's nice.
beautiful to have my older kids who know this stuff getting to now teach it to my son who
Look
is
at
learning
that.
these things, which I love. Um, so from there, after we do that, we also have a time to practice our catechism question and song, question and answer, but we usually do it through a song. So we practice it during the week and we'll just take a couple minutes on it. I don't like to push too long on something that I know my 4-year-old may not enjoy as much. Meanwhile,
Mm,
my almost 6, wow, she's about to be 6. It's a lot. I have to prepare myself. But
yeah.
my girls who are 8 and 5, like they have already learned this stuff. So for them, they're like, all right, like it's a piece of cake for them while my son is picking up on it. So we'll practice that and then we'll have a time to pray, which is something I started this year with our homeschooling because I was starting my second into kindergarten. And prior to that, doing school with my daughter, that was not something that we started our day off with before doing her work. And I've realized such a change in both
Mm.
of our attitudes when we start off our school time with prayer.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so that's been beautiful. And if they're not wanting to, that's fine. Mommy will pray. But I always offer it to them. If any of them would like to
Mm,
pray, they can
mm.
go. And then I always finish up and then they all separate from there and go to their desk. My youngest or my oldest, she has a desk back here. You can't see where she does her stuff. And then my two other ones, they sit
Oh,
over here.
right there. Wow, that's a
So yeah,
classroom right there you have down there, Ari.
yeah, so this is
Proper.
our
Yeah.
our classroom space. So
Nice.
my kindergartner, she sits in this seat right here, and then my preschooler, he sits here, and I have a whiteboard here or like a dry erase board. So if I need to do
Uh-huh.
stuff, I can put it on there, and they sit at their seats, and I actually get a chair and sit right in between them
Okay.
so then that way I can talk to them, I can give them instruction, be able to help her, help him, and kind of divide up my time, which is great because my oldest, she does all her reading. So she hops on the computer, does all her schoolwork there. And I sit on the other side of the room with them doing it. So she's less distracted from the
Mhm.
little ones who are playing and climbing under their desk and all over the place. So it gives us that freedom to do the things that we need
Mm.
to make those adjustments. So my son, we do things that are good for his age level. Sometimes we don't do a lot with him. Sometimes I'm like, all right, just color. But for him, he just enjoys being there. If he's, the girls are doing their stuff, although since he's in preschool, I don't actually have to send anything to the state for him. So
Okay.
we're just doing fun things for him to learn his
Okay.
shapes, his colors, things like that. So that is always fun to just kind of have him
Mm.
getting to work on that on the side. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, we cover the main subjects pretty much every single day of math, English, science, and social studies. Those math and English for me are like we need to do those constantly,
Mhm.
because math and English are things that, although I never thought math would be all throughout my life, it certainly is. And also, I want my kids to understand reading and writing with English and knowing how
Yes.
to write well, because it's something
Yes.
I hated a whole lot until
Because
now.
you're busy getting in trouble.
Oh man, I sure was. That's where I spent my time talking. So, but those are like the big things. So we spread around the extracurricular things throughout our week, or sometimes we'll skip it for a couple weeks, and then I'm like, all right, we're gonna do a few music lessons now. Let's get those in. But the main ones, the core of it for me has always been math and English first, and then science and social studies. I want them
Mhm.
to understand that, because the older my daughter is getting, she's understanding how things function in life because of science.
Oh,
So it's really
wonderful.
neat to get to see how that is becoming so much more in depth now that she's in third grade.
That's
Um,
nice.
so let's see. I have notes on the side just so I make sure
That's
I didn't
not
miss
no, no,
any
no, I'm
major thing.
fine. You know me when I'm over here, like I'll be going over this way. We're supposed to be going this way.
Right.
So
I want to make sure, I'm like, I had so many things on my mind. I want to make sure I get most of them. And then also, so my third grader, she does her work on the computer, while my
Mhm.
kindergartner, her stuff is in books.
Okay.
So we've
So she's
adjusted the
cutting in
curriculum
there.
that we've
Mhm.
chosen for her, which is also another beautiful part of homeschooling, is you can make
Oh,
the
because you can
adjustment.
switch. Okay,
Yep.
like okay, you're doing
Oh yeah.
this, and then you're seeing like okay, maybe this is not working well. Then you switch, which is not an
Yes.
option in a public school because everything is standardized,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
plus, that's just so you have a class, you have kids, whatever, 12 kids in a class or 15 kids, and that's just standardized for 15 kids, 12 kids.
Yeah.
But all those kids are individual, 12 kids who are different. It's just one teacher.
Yep.
There's no way they're gonna do exclusive to each child.
Yeah.
So yeah, that already wins out as a benefit
Yeah. Yeah.
of homeschool. Even what you talk about the flexibility part, right? Be
Oh,
like, okay,
yes,
this week this is what's
absolutely.
going on. You just adjust it
Yeah,
and you are in charge, you are in control of what's going to be done, when it's going to be done, how it's going to be done. Even
yeah,
what Bible believers sharing, like, they will have the 2 hours teaching about the Lord, then, like, let the
yeah,
son go out and just play around, right? But
yeah,
those
yeah,
are not the options that you're going to be having in a classroom because everything is standardized and scheduled, right? So,
yeah,
and you don't have a control, say how things are going to run because there's other students there. So,
yeah.
that's a very good point. And I also do like even just how you're explaining it, Ari, that you actually enjoy it. Because
I
I think
do.
some people don't want to do it because they think it's just going to be boring. Like,
Yeah,
wow, you know what I mean? The kids are just going to drive me crazy. So be like, no, you know what? They can spend, I don't know, 6, 7 hours at school. And then they come home. At least I don't have to worry. I can just do their
yeah,
homework. We're done. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Almost. Yeah. So, I like that about it. Like, like you definitely kind of like enjoy it. And,
I
and
do.
even how you made the downstairs, you made it like a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
I
I
wanted
mean,
to
like the
make it
other one is the
fun.
preschool has a desk. Come on, Ari.
No, actually, those desks were given to us.
Uh,
My husband's uncle, he works at Good Counsel, and they were getting rid of stuff, and so they were like,
uh-huh.
"Can we give you a few?" I'm like,
No, I mean, no, it's
"Absolutely,
I like it. That's nice. It's cool because they're getting that experience. Because it's like, okay, you know
yes,
what? We were upstairs. Now we are in a different
yes,
environment where we're
yeah,
learning. You know what I'm saying? Because it matters, right? Right? Like when you go to the beach, you actually feel that you're at the beach. There's just
yeah,
something about it, right? Like
oh yeah,
when you're at a hotel, it's the same thing. You actually feel there's
yeah,
something different. The environment changes, and it does something to you. So I do appreciate
yeah,
that you guys have it that way and you have incorporated to be doing the catechism, which by the
yeah.
way they're not going to be getting in the public school. So
Not at
you
all.
have an opportunity to
No.
be doing that, like
Yes. Yeah,
that's awesome. I like
yeah.
that.
And also, I don't ever wanna discourage anyone. You don't need to have a setup to do homeschooling. Let me tell
uh,
you that, like, we started off at a table at the dining room, and that is standard for many, many, many families who are absolutely successful in homeschooling. I was just very grateful that we had a space in our rec room, and we have play stuff over here, and then I wanted to make it like the kids' wall here. So we have like a whole play corner here and then this. And I was like, I want to separate it, but give them a space that we can walk away
Mhm.
from at the end of the day. And also I want to be able to hang stuff up. I've been recently taking down all the stuff from the year to try to re-clean. So otherwise I have pictures up here all the time. So you don't have to have a designated like whole room for homeschooling.
Mhm.
The majority of
Yeah.
people do it at their dining room table and just have their books off at the side and bring it over, or they have one desk and their kids have that. So that is perfectly fine.
Yeah, like yeah,
Because
what yeah, empathic 77, that's also what they do. Yeah. The idea is as long as you're doing it, you know what I'm
yes,
saying?
yeah.
You yeah, it doesn't matter. You have that's not the issue. Yeah. If you have the means, you have the space, go for it. But the idea, the fact that you've made that decision, you're going
Yeah,
to homeschool your children, to
yeah,
me, I think that's awesome. That is beautiful. The investment that you guys are doing by homeschooling your kids, you might not see it today, but that's
mhm,
you are investing in world changers, right? These are the kids
yeah,
who are learning things that they will never otherwise learn in a public school, and those
yeah,
are the things that are going to stay with them. You are investing, this is your legacy, right? They're going to be able to instill those things in your grandkids, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, you are teaching the next generation that's going to
Mm,
carry the legacy of your family. So see, I mean, like, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
yeah, absolutely. It totally is.
Yeah. Yeah, it says, yeah, spend time with my son and make memories. Beautiful. Like, look at that. Like,
That's
yeah, because
awesome.
they're in school. You wouldn't be able to do certain things because they're in school. But just like that, like, okay, you know what? Today, no, we're done. School is done for today. We're going outside to the playground and
I have,
everything else.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
We've
that
had
that
to do
is
that.
good.
Or if some days are just rough and we're like, all
Mm.
right, we just need to end it right now. Like
Yes.
we're not getting, I mean,
Yeah.
I never want to make it seem like homeschooling is perfect. It's easy. There are absolutely hard days in it where you may be butting heads with your child and it's
Mm.
just a rough day. And that's why this year we started with prayer in the morning
Mm.
because that's
Mm.
something I was not doing before. And my daughter and I, we were just butting heads. I'm like, this is rough. Like I was ready to quit, which is terrible. I never wanted to not do it, but I was like, this is not working. Like what? This is not right. So we
Mm.
switched her curriculum, and I was like, we're not praying in the beginning of the day. So we did those two things, and it's like smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So, which is one of the beautiful benefits. You can just change as you need and
Mm.
adjust. If your child's not getting it, you can make those adjustments. Where we had said in public school, you can't. You just have to follow the curriculum, whether you like it or not. That's what you have to do. And that is what is required of you. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, unless if you have something else, so now let's touch about the home management part, because that's you right
Ooh.
there teaching your kids, and then you have a husband.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
So,
it's been wonderful, like getting to practice home management for myself. I mean, I've been a stay-at-home mom for over 8 years now, and homeschooling for 4 of them. Um, so it's a beautiful balance of teaching my kids life, how to live life, how to function in life around others, with others, how
mm,
to care for their place and their space here in our home, care for their things, how to help a family. And I think that that is the foundation and the core of my kids getting to grow up. My 8-year-old, her greatest desire is being a mom. That is
look at
all she has ever
that.
wanted
I
for
want
the
to be
last
I
4 years.
love it.
That's all she says every year when I'm like, when we start over a year, we always do like beginning of the school year pictures. And I'm like, what do you want to be? And she's like, I want to be a mom. I'm like, anything else? She's like, a mom. I'm like, got it. I love that that is her main desire in life. And so it's like I'm getting to teach her parts
Mhm.
of that, what it is to be a parent, what it is to be a homemaker, and someone that cares for their house, opens up their doors for hospitality. And
Mm.
because for her, she's like, well, I just want to be a mom. I'm like, but do you realize with doing that, that does not just mean you get to have a baby and enjoy all the fun times. Like, you have to
Yes.
care for your house. And so, that brings in chores with it. So my kids, every day they have a chore chart. I've
That's
laminated
nice.
it, so it makes it easy. They just use a little dry erase marker and they can do all their little checks, wipe it off at the end of the week and start over. So I don't have to, it saves me on printing out a whole lot. But as a kid, my dad actually had done the same for my siblings and I. We had our weekly chore charts, get a little money at the end of the week. We
Mm,
put on there like a Bible verse that we had to work on. But for my kids, we work on catechism questions. They also do Bible verses for other things. But so they each have each of their own little separate charts. I have it actually on the inside of our pantry, so they can just open up the doors, check off their own little chart. But that helps them to help our home, and they are
nice.
learning such important things that will last them for the rest of their lives.
Nice.
So as my kids have gotten older, we have upped some of the chores, or I have
Mhm.
passed on some of the chores from my oldest down to my next child, and some of hers went on to my son according to
Nice.
their age range. So then that way it's not too overwhelming. It's not something
Mm.
that is above expectation of their age range. And there's things that even since I've updated their chore chart 6 months ago, my girls are now wanting to help me with the dishes. And that's something I've never really asked them to do. I know that some families, they love to get their kids started early on that, but I was like, I don't want them to break things. But they jumped right in, and my girls sit there together and they'll wash utensils together. And I'm like, this is beautiful, like seeing them work
Nice.
together and to help out our home. But it's also opened a lot of conversations for my kids to get to
Mhm.
understand that we are a part of a home. It's not just
Yes.
mommy does all the chores and you guys live in a clean house, but we
Mm.
all have to participate. We make a mess. We have to
We clean
participate
it
and
up.
clean it
Yeah. We
up,
clean it up.
and
Yeah.
getting to help care for our house and to
Yeah.
maintain it. I'm not diagnosed OCD, but I definitely have a whole lot of OCD tendencies, and I like things to be very much in order. It helps me to function a lot better.
Uh,
So even like today, I was like, oh man, things are all out of order. So I started pulling all their toys out and was like, you guys got to put all this stuff away. And
mm.
the floor was covered. I'm like, it's time to clean up our mess. This has been going on all week long.
Yes.
Let it go because everyone's been sick, but it's time to put it away. So they're
Mm.
they're learning the importance of caring for a house, caring for their items. As they break their things, they come to me and say, hey mom, can you fix this? And I'm like, sorry, it's like some things I can fix. This is broken. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
that's not good. And so we learn the importance of caring for our stuff. And we've had many
Mm.
conversations of, well, you have to take good care of your things so that they last a long time. So
Yes.
I want
Yeah.
my kids to learn these important things that they take on with them. And that's not even homeschooling. That's just beautiful life lessons that I can teach them
Yes.
all day long, all week long. Which has been beneficial. So the chores is a big thing that has been an absolute blessing. They also help us when we have hospitality coming over. They
Mm.
know it's time to hustle and let's put things away. Let's move our shoes out of the way
Yes.
when people come in so they can have somewhere to stand. And so like they understand jumping in to help our family, but that's also teaching them biblical things that they need to learn for the future.
Mm.
We want to be able to open our doors for others to come and have a place to come if they need to go somewhere and have people to talk to. We're here. If they need a meal, we're here. If they
Yeah.
if they just want to come over and we want to have great fellowship, we're here for that. We want our kids to be a part of that. So we always, now that they're older, no longer my husband Carlos and I, we're not just like, oh, we're going to do it ourselves. We have the kids jump in and help us
Yes.
out because they are
That's nice.
learning. They're learning to care for others in
Yes.
in a deeper way, because we do tend to do that throughout the week, with hosting friends for play dates or anything like that. And so I have my kids absolutely jump right in and be
And
able to
help.
participate in that. Um,
That is
so yeah,
nice.
that's
Because
part of
those
it.
are the things you cannot learn elsewhere, but like
Yeah,
now because they are being trained. So they know, okay, whenever, we're going to have visitors, right? We are hosting. We need to, we just can have our stuff running around. these
Yeah.
are the things that we have. We need to take care of these things, like not taking for granted the things that they
Yeah.
have, right? Like, so
Absolutely.
if you care for something like what you said, like, okay, it's going to last long. So those things are being instilled in them that they can apply as they get older, even with their own things, right? Because some of those things
Yeah.
you're not going to learn anywhere, not even in college. You're not
Oh,
going to
yeah,
learn those things, right? Like, yeah, okay, the house needs to be clean, the house needs to be maintained, dishes need to be cleaned. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but they're watching, they're seeing. So, if you say that you want to be a mom one day, these are the things that you'll be doing, right? You'll be
Yeah.
teaching your kids, you'll
Yeah.
be managing your home, cleaning, teaching your siblings, things of that nature. So I do like that that
Yeah.
hands-on training,
Yeah.
and the catechism that you guys, it's always good to catechize your children, because those are truths
Absolutely.
that are not going to change 10, 20 years
Yeah.
from now, because
Yeah.
they will always be true. So it doesn't matter. So as long as they learn, they memorize those things, they can pass
Yeah.
down to their children, to your grandkids. So I do like that idea. Like that's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's very, very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we enjoy, and even with doing chores too, you can pay your kids, and then when we go to the store from time to time, we'll have them take their money and they'll want to buy something, and then they're learning the value
Yes.
of a dollar.
Yes.
Which is so important.
Well,
That's
you
so
think,
many, like,
yeah,
so important. I grew up in an area close to here where people get everything handed to them, and that was
man.
not how I was raised. I was working at 14 years old, had my first job, and so it's like I learned a hard work ethic, and I want my
Mm,
kids to also learn that, because
that's
it's
nice.
something that when they get older and they don't live with us, or they, who knows, if my girls never get married, Lord willing they will, and Lord willing I'll have many grandchildren.
In
But
Jesus' name.
if they don't do that, eventually they're going to have to get a job, they're going to have to work, and I want to teach them those core
Yes.
foundational things that are necessary to be a good employee, to be a good worker
Yeah.
unto the Lord, because ultimately when
Yes.
they're working, yes, you want to honor your boss and you want to
Mm,
do a good job, but you ultimately want to please the Lord with how you work,
mm.
and how you can be a great witness to people no matter where you
Amen.
are.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm very, very thankful to be able to do that, and to work with them, rather than they're off at school, I'm off working, and then I come home and I got to
Well, you're
rush
so
to be like,
tired.
I'm
Yeah.
too tired to like teach them these lessons. We'll
Yeah.
deal with it later. I can take the time right then if I see that they're like having a bad attitude or complaining through it, and be like, let's sit, let's talk. What's going on? Why are you feeling
Mm.
this way? Like, well, these are parts of life. I know you may not like it now, but this is something that we have to do joyfully, because there's conversations I've had with my daughter as she's been like, I don't want to do this, and she sees me sitting there cleaning dishes, and I'm like, honey, I don't want to have to wash dishes for the third time today, but I'm doing
Yeah.
it. And I'm
Yes.
not complaining. This is a part of life. Like, we
Yes.
have to be willing to do these things and to still be joyful, knowing that we are helping our family. We're serving others and getting to
Yes.
love them in such
Yes.
a simple way. And so
Mm.
now it's like, since we've had some of those conversations, I see my daughter getting more joyful. Like, okay, she's like, see, mom, I did my chores. And I'm like, I love that she's now excited that she's able to do these things, and she's showing that joy, and wanting us to notice her good work. So it's beautiful to be able to have that one-on-one time throughout my day to teach them. So yeah.
Wow, that is so nice. That is so nice, because especially when you're at home, right? Like,
Mhm.
you are teaching. So you guys are learning things that you have to learn in school, but you're
Yeah.
learning skills, practical
Yes.
skills that are going to be useful for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So whether
Absolutely.
the kids are going to get married one day, whether they get married or they don't get married, they will be going through, they will
Yeah.
be required to be doing those things. You have to take care of
Yeah.
your stuff. You have to clean your
Absolutely.
dishes. You have to take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know the things of the Lord. So those are not things that are being wasted. Those are
Yeah.
investments that are priceless. Priceless
Absolutely.
investments. Those
Yeah.
are priceless investments. So I do like that, because these are the things that it's almost like they are not part of the home, so to speak. was just like, wow, if I'm going to homeschool, how else am I going to do this? Like, it's just a lot of stuff. So it sounds like
Yeah,
it's things that cannot be done. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, but like here you are making a decision, being home, homeschooling your kids, managing your house. Like, it's just so good and it's just so fine. But
yeah.
like, right now people be like, but Ari, what about that corporate job, girl? What about that corporate corner office? What's up with that?
It can be hard to leave a good paying job. I mean, I did it when my youngest was a baby. She was Oh man, I stayed home with her when she was 3 months old. So
Mm.
I had left my job, a job I loved. I loved the people I worked with. I cried my last day because I would have loved to stay there, but I wanted to raise my baby. I wanted to take care of her and I wanted to take the time every single day to be with her. And as much as I have still not been there for the last 8
Oh.
years, I've kept
Mhm.
great connections with so many of the people there, and I'm really, really thankful for that. But at the same time, I want to be home with my kids, and my husband and I have sacrificed so much. We have sacrificed endless vacations we could have taken if I was still working,
Yes.
and that would have been wonderful. We took a big trip 2 years ago down to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and it was wonderful. But that's the first time we've taken a real family vacation since we've had children, and since we've taken like a couple days to the beach, a couple days here to the beach, whether it's in the winter or the fall. We typically like to go off season when it's not as
Mm.
crowded, there's not many people, so it's just more relaxing, it's not so high stress, and it's a
Just
whole lot
enjoying it.
cheaper, so y'all know. Way cheaper. So we like to do some of those things too, but it's not as often, and that's okay because
Mm.
we are with our kids. They don't have to worry about where mom and dad, like, we are here
Yeah.
to be with them unless we're going to the grocery store and my husband's home so he can be with the kids and I can run by myself and have a little alone time for a moment, or unless we go on a date night, like we're literally with them all the time. And I am so grateful for that because as much as we can't have all the freedom to buy everything that we want,
Mhm.
the sacrifice is worth it because God has
Amen.
always provided, even with
Amen.
each one of our kids that we've had. The Lord literally immediately after we've had each of our kids, when we would find out we're pregnant, we're like, okay, how are we gonna do this? We need a few thousand more to be able to make it with another one. And right before I would have a baby, my husband got a raise, and I'm like, oh my word, like this is
Yes.
incredible.
God
Like
is like that.
the Lord knows exactly what his people
Yes.
need,
Yeah,
and
he
when
says he'll provide all your needs, right? He'll provide all
absolutely,
your needs. Yeah.
absolutely. And so it's
Mm.
like I feel like every single time I think I trust the Lord enough, he gives me one more little challenge. He's like, "Yep, you're gonna learn a little bit more trust." But it's beautiful because as soon as I am in those situations and I can be
Mm.
like, okay, Lord, I know I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna trust that you're gonna provide, and I'm in
Mm.
constant prayer, he does it again. And I'm sitting there
Amen.
in awe of the beauty of God blessing us when truthfully we don't deserve it, but we are willing to sacrifice those things. We're willing to be home every day, and we still make certain things a priority. Like I try to go to dinner with some of my girlfriends
Yeah,
either
that's good. You gotta maintain your friendships
once.
as well. Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that that is so incredibly important for a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife. So if you are not, even if you are in the corporate world, I'm not anymore, but if you're not, I think it's so important to have that time of fellowship with people. And that's one of the reasons why I've still, even though my daughter's older, she doesn't necessarily have to have those constant play dates. But when she was a baby, we had them all the time. And
Mm.
it gave me that sense of fellowship. I
Oh
didn't
yes, because
feel,
like yeah, you're chit chatting with your
yeah,
fellow your friends
yeah,
there. The kids are playing
absolutely.
together. You're building those relationships. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I can't deny when I was home and my oldest was really young, if I was not interacting with people a lot through the week, I felt like I'm going crazy because I'm so
Yeah.
extroverted. I'm like, "I'm
Yeah.
talking to a baby all
Baby,
day, like,
I know
she's
I
not
need to
responding,
bounce
I
off
need help."
ideas right now.
So
Yeah. So
so
mm.
that stuff is so important. So absolutely, I always encourage people, like, still maintain a sense
The
of like friendship
friendship.
with people. So
Yes.
I try
Yeah.
at least once a month if I can, if not every other month, to like have dinner with girlfriends and who live back where I used to live, like 45 minutes from here. And I just try and meet up with some people to be like, all right, let's talk, let's catch up. Like, no
I
kids,
like
no
that.
distraction. Let's just have time
Yes, exactly. Let's
together.
just do it. Yeah, that's
Yes,
good.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful. So
Yeah, that's good. I think that's why also now most churches they do have the mobs
mhm.
where you've
Yeah,
heard about
yeah.
that, like it's been helping. So I know, like my sister, she never wants to miss that. So every time, like she goes,
Oh, it's
because
great.
most of the time she's talking to her 3 year old. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
provides the opportunity for her to, do the play dates, like what you're saying, and
yeah,
talk to other moms and everything. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely needed. Plus, yes,
absolutely.
you're married, yes, you have kids, but that doesn't mean that all your friendship they need to go to the wayside, right? You still
Yeah,
have to maintain those relationships, but your
yeah,
priority is to your home. So I think
absolutely.
that's a very good, like, yeah, your priority is to your home. So you don't want to sacrifice your children at the expense of your career, sacrifice your husband, your marriage at the expense of your career,
Yeah.
because these are the things that have happened in our culture, whereby, like, women don't want to get married because they want to, get that corner office, right? So they get that corner office. By the time they want to get married, time has gone. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Yeah.
now you want to be having kids. It's just like, you kept postponing good things that you're supposed to be doing in
Mhm.
time, So those are the things that I do
Yeah.
see. People in the world are going to do things, people in the world, but, like, as Christians, everything we have to there's nothing wrong in having a corporate office, nothing wrong in having a corner office, but your priorities have to be in line
Absolutely.
with what the Lord wants for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a blessing in doing things that way.
Yeah,
So it's a blessing
absolutely.
in that way. Yeah, Ali, yeah. So what do you have for us, like, in closing? I think we got. I don't want you to miss anything that was on the list. So anything
Well,
that's left on the list, bring it out right now.
sounds good. Well, I do wanna talk about some of the benefits of
Yes, we.
homeschooling.
Oh,
I know
yeah, yeah, yeah. The we
we've
didn't.
touched
Yeah,
on a
the
couple.
benefits. They
Yeah,
just
there
okay. So bring in, because I do. Yes, because there's one thing that I've heard, like public school. It's expensive. It takes almost like $12,000 per child
mm,
a year for public school. That's taxpayers' money, of course.
yeah,
Whereas, like, homeschool, it's not even close. You can
yeah,
run
yeah.
a
It's
homeschool
So
at a fraction of a budget.
it can really just depend on the curriculum that you choose for your kid. There
Mm-hmm.
are very cheap, affordable books where you might spend maybe 100, 200 a year for a child. Whereas if you pick a much more expensive curriculum, you get everything covered, but it could cost 1,000 plus. There are also different homeschool co-ops, which we just joined
Oh
one
yes.
recently. I
Okay, yeah, the
love
co-op. So
it.
how do those work? Like, do you get to pick which one you want to belong to? Because you had
Yes.
shared that you've just. Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'll discuss that too. So there are options such as a tutorial, which usually that cost, and those are
Mm-hmm.
tutors or teachers that are actually coming in to teach your kid, and that's typically a
Oh,
couple days a week. That can cost a few $1,000s too. So,
okay.
but they are getting more in like one on one. It's not typically one child per class. It'll be like normal class size, but it'll be like very direct teaching, and then you take home schoolwork to work on the rest of the week. So we did a
Okay.
homeschool co-op. I love it so much. I feel like I could rave about it all day, but
Oh,
I
that's
love it.
nice.
So,
But the
so
way you
basically,
love, have you considered to be one of those teachers who are doing the co-op? Because like
yeah,
this thing,
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that will fit you, Ari. Because, like, one, you need to write a book. Okay, you need to write a book, and two, you need to be one of those instructors in co-op. That's what you need to be
I
doing right now.
plan to. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
just so the co-op that we're with, they do 10 weeks in the fall. They take 10 weeks off for the
Mm.
elementary kids in the winter, and then they do 10 weeks in the spring for the elementary kids. But the high school, middle schoolers, they go all 30 weeks. And so basically, a co-op is a group of parents or moms, the majority are moms,
Mm-hmm.
and they come together, they cooperate together to teach the kids, which is absolutely incredible. So all the teachers that are there are moms, and their kids are in other classrooms, or maybe their child is in their class with them, and basically they can choose to teach whatever subject they would want. So my kids, they took a PE class, they took an art class,
Okay.
they took health classes, a science class. My daughter, she took a reading theater class, um, which was beautiful because for her, she was learning to read. And for her, she was getting a little nervous reading in front of people. So I saw an
Mm.
option for a reading theater class. And I was like, perfect. I'm not in there. She's reading with other people who she's going to be a little nervous around, but they're going to make her feel comfortable. And by the end of it, this girl, I kid you not, she will read in front of anybody now. It's
I like
like it gave her
it.
that, like, that little push to be more comfortable.
Mm.
So co-ops are amazing. The one benefit that I love about this one that we have chosen to join, and there's plenty all around in states, you really do have to look for them. But
Okay.
someone from my church had recommended this one to me. And so we had joined. I love it. And the part that really was beautiful to me is they actually started this one to support homeschooling moms. That's how it all
Nice.
started. And then years down the road, after they had done like a monthly mom support night, they then started a co op off of it because they're like, we have enough moms. Why don't we just start teaching the kids and do classes
Yeah.
together? So that's how it
Okay.
started. And so I love it because now we're adding these classes in addition to what my kids are doing at home. And
Oh,
it's
so that's
one,
just like extra thing that
yeah,
they're learning because you're already doing
yeah,
stuff in your home. So when
yeah,
you go to co-op, that's extra in there. Oh, I see.
yeah,
That's why they
yeah.
even say that even statistically that the kids who are homeschool, they do well in the
Yes.
SCT scores. Even when they go to college, they are
Mm-hmm.
not distracted. Like they are good students, so to speak.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
to be honest, I've heard all good things about
yeah,
homeschool versus like, public school. The only
yeah.
issues that people always bring about is that socialization part, like, oh, how are they going to
Oh, yeah,
socialize? If they want to be doing like in sports, what else is going to be happening? You know what I mean? So to me,
yeah,
there's, even though those things, let's grant that they are true, they do not outweigh the benefits
yeah.
of the hands-on that you're going to have your kids. Plus, the fact of the matter is there's
Absolutely.
nobody in the universe who is going to take care of your kids better than you as a mom. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like nobody
yeah,
else would. Like you are in the best position to take care of your child, to know the struggles of your kid, the kids that they have, to know the struggles of your kids and
yeah.
to know how to maneuver those things. Plus, you are the one who has the best interest more than
Absolutely.
anybody else. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? For your
yeah,
kids. So whether you're disciplining them, whether you're whatever else you're doing, like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
there's good to attach to it. So
Yeah, yeah,
those are the things that I see. And then people are saying like, oh, plus, they go to public school, they don't have to worry about bullying, like right now, everybody's
yes, they do.
kids getting bullied in
Oh
public
my
schools.
goodness. Yeah.
Everybody has to have the latest iPhone. You gotta
Oh
have to have
yeah.
new clothes every time school opens. You know what I mean? Just the peer pressure, the things that the kids they have to keep up,
Yeah, yeah,
they just don't exist at home. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Plus
Oh
the
yeah.
bonding with your siblings. Because
Yeah,
I know like when you go to high school, like, you just want to hang around with your friends, not
yeah,
like, not with your siblings. But like, now because you're home, you're learning how to love your family, you're learning how to function within your family, playing along with your siblings. So you know that, okay, this is all that you need, so to speak. So anything else that comes in is just extra, or
yeah,
with or without your
yeah,
home, it's still going to function. So I
yeah,
think, yeah, that's so
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so and it's also great because our co-op, they usually have two moms teaching a class, and the classes are limited. Like they don't just allow 30 kids in a class. Like they always put a limit on it, which is
That's
great because
good.
then
Yeah.
that way they can have more one-on-one with the kids. So I think the biggest class that they might have had was 20 kids, and it was like PE, which are all just running around having fun playing games, and they
Hmm.
loved it. But the majority of them are like 10 to 15 kids at most with two moms. So you're getting a lot more one-on-one interaction. They're hour-long classes. They teach them right at their age level. And even then they're interacting with multiple grades, because usually
Mm.
the classes are, kindergarten to second grade or third to sixth grade. So it's like they're getting more interaction with other age levels. So that limiting of socialization not being in their age range, debunked. They can
Yeah, I know
absolutely
it's
do it.
definitely debunked because I don't see, like, yes,
Yeah.
you can go to high school and end up
Yeah.
becoming awkward, stay at home,
Yeah.
things go west side. So I do agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a reason not to. And plus, with everything that we've learned, what's going on in this public school, why would you want to put your children in that type of
Yeah.
environment where you have no control, where you have no say? You know what I mean? But at home,
Oh, yeah.
you are in charge, you are in control, and they know who is in charge. And then they're learning this hands-on type of education, which I think is
Yeah.
definitely good, and it's definitely a blessing. They are learning
Absolutely.
good godly values. So I think it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Very,
Yes.
very
Well,
beautiful.
so
Plus it's
some
cheap
so much cheaper.
compared to, yeah.
I don't have to pay for all the new school clothes and school
Yeah.
supplies. Like, I've honestly been blessed with so many supplies over the years, even before my kids were in school. So it's been a huge, huge blessing. And I've
Mhm.
saved so many of them. That's why these shelves are way more full than I would probably have them,
Mhm.
because I've been
It's
given so many
good.
wonderful things to be
That's
able to
good.
use. But some more of the other benefits of homeschooling. I think one of the things that I really do love is I get to teach my kids according to what they need in their age range, or if a curriculum doesn't work, or if there's a learning disability or something like
Mm.
that, we can change it up really, really quick.
That's
With
good.
with my oldest last year, we were not doing well with the book work. So this year I was like, all right, we're going to try online curriculum. I did a lot of research, figured out which one was great, and I've loved it. And it was free too, which was
Oh, look
beautiful.
at
And it
that. Nice.
which that if you guys are interested in it, it is all in one homeschool.com. It's
You have the
fantastic.
link, we can post it here,
Yes, it's
you can
I don't know
post
how
it
to
on
send it
the
to you.
in the private chat, then I'm gonna post it here.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
people can always
All in
have it,
one
post
homeschool.com.
it there. Those are
There you
good
go.
resources that people
Yes. And
you
this
know.
actually covers kindergarten up to 12th grade. It is free. It's a mom who did homeschooling with her kids. People were like, it's not that easy. And she said, oh, it's easy peasy. So when you go on there, that's actually the name of the website, is Easy Peasy. And it is
Mhm.
fantastic. It will push your kids, but you can change it according to whatever it is that you want your child to learn. There's Bible courses on there too. There are 4 different options for science, for social studies, and all that. So you can change it according to their age range. And it's wonderful. So I've loved it. And that obviously saves us a lot. I bought the books that go along with it, so I don't have to pay and print out all the work that goes with it. But it's
That's
been
nice.
incredible. So my oldest, her books were probably $20-$30 altogether for the year. Super cheap. So another thing is, for a benefit, is that we can teach them directly from God's word all day long.
Amen.
Like I
Mhm.
mentioned, the catechisms this morning after we ate breakfast together, we sat with my husband, since he's working from home, and we did family worship together, and we could talk about such wonderful things together as a family. And I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, I sat there holding my son, and I'm like, this is the greatest gift I could have ever asked for.
Look
Like,
at that.
I
Amen. I love it.
I have so much more than I ever expected. And here we are raising our children on a weekday, like teaching them scripture. Like, this is so wonderful.
Yeah.
And even during their schoolwork, my kindergartner, she has a book in her math book. It's a Christian based math book, and with that, it certain things, it comes up for what was it, patterns, I think. And it was talking about the rainbow, and then it talks about Noah and the ark, and the fact that why God gave us a rainbow. And the day before we were talking about it, and I'm like, look at that. So it's like we're learning all of that throughout their work.
Nice.
So that is another beautiful thing. Um, we can wear PJs all day long,
All
like I
day
mentioned
long. You
before.
don't have, yeah, that's what I was saying. Because, like, every time when school year starts, you have to buy new clothes. Because
Yes,
those are the things that,
we don't have to.
not everybody can afford those things. But, like, when you're,
Yeah,
it's a new school year, everybody's
yeah,
bringing new clothes and everything. That's how it is. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
so
close to that.
that's a beautiful thing. We're not worried about who's best dressed, except on the first day. I have them get all decked out so we can do
Uh-huh. First
first
day, make
day
it a big
school
deal.
pictures. So I love that. But other than that, it's very comfortable. We can just be comfortable because we're just going to be at home. We can stop as we need to if we need to snack throughout the day. Like we're at
Mm,
school, you got to wait till lunchtime. You only get 30 minutes for lunch. You have to wait until you get home. So here we have that flexibility, to be able to do those things as needed. We can wake up early and
mm.
start our day, or we can sleep in and then start our
Okay, and
day
then start
later
later
on.
on. Ah,
So
I
we
like the sleeping part.
yes, I do. I know it is a beautiful thing. So I'm like, some days I'm like, I don't want to start at 9 a.m. for
Mm,
schooling. I don't want to start at 11. I'll wait till my son's for his down for his nap and I'll do it with the girls then. And that's what I've been doing this week when my kids were sick. I'm like, all right, we're going to sit on the couch upstairs and this is
mm.
where we're going to do school today. And it works. And also, my kids don't have to wake up early every single day to catch the
Oh,
bus
yeah, to catch
or
the bus. Yes,
walk to
exactly.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
because our elementary school is like a quarter mile away. So I'm like, they would have to wake up and walk to school
Yes, because
every
if you
day.
live close to the school, then you don't get the bus.
Yeah.
You have to walk to the school. Yeah, you're
Yep.
right.
So
Mm,
it's a beautiful thing. They can get that sleep that a lot
mm.
of kids are missing out on and very tired. I remember, especially high school, I was up at like 5:30 every morning. I was so exhausted. My
Yeah,
kids
gotta
are
go
getting
catch the bus.
they're getting good rest every single day, and I'm not sitting there waking them up and they're sleeping until after 9. I'm like, that's fine. You want to get your rest? That's fine. I will rest too. No problem. So we can also take breaks as needed. If I can see
Mm.
that my kids are not doing well with stuff, we can pause and say, all right, we'll come back to this tomorrow. Or hey, let's step aside. Let's talk about what's going on. Why are you acting this way? We can do discipline as needed. Whereas in schools, teachers, which obviously I wouldn't want someone disciplining my child outside of myself, but it's like I can immediately talk to them about that. I can immediately handle that situation rather than
Mm.
they go to school, they get verbally corrected, sent to the principals, then it goes home. Then it's like I can immediately address the problem and we can get to the root of it and move on with our day,
Mm.
which is great. And like I said earlier, I've had to skip a couple days this week because my kids were sick. That is
Yeah,
also another huge benefit. You can make
that
that
you can do.
adjustment.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is huge in public school. If you don't show up, you get marked absent, and then
Oh,
you gotta
yes, you
make
get
up all the work,
yes, the days that you
which
missed. Yeah. Mm.
which is fine. I mean, you gotta make up the work that you missed, but here, I'm not gonna send them home, "Well, you weren't here, so now you gotta do all this stuff by yourself." No, I'm here to be able to work with them, and they're not trying to figure things out and catch up on their own,
Yeah.
which is beautiful because they have that one-on-one help from mommy and daddy, which is great.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I mentioned we can change a curriculum if needed, which is wonderful. If you get curriculum, which there is tons of curriculum, even if we went to, what was it, Barnes and Nobles, like a couple months ago. We went in the kids section. There's a huge section, like a huge row down the center that has all these workbooks for kids every age you could imagine. And at least in elementary school. And it's like you can get so many simple and wonderful workbooks available to you at local stores. You can go on Amazon and look up
Mm.
curriculum. There is also christianbooks.com. They have a lot of great homeschooling books too.
That's
You
good.
can get there, which is wonderful because then that way you can be able to get things that cover the subjects. And also I do a lot of Google searches for things that I need. So if I can't find it, I'm like, oh, let me go
Oh,
online
I'm
and
just gonna
look it up.
Google it. Ah,
Google
Ari's busy
is
Googling.
fantastic. I will not even deny it. So, what else? Looking at my list. So, okay, so I talked about that. And also, oh yeah, this is one thing that in the very beginning, my oldest, she was doubting a lot her ability because
Oh,
we had noticed like last year she was
uh-huh.
very much a perfectionist, and so if she wasn't getting things right it would just bring her down a lot. So within first and second grade I would actually, she just reminded of me of this like the other week, and she was like, mom, you used to have me go in the bathroom and I'd have to look at myself in the mirror and you'd have me shout, I am smart. And I was like, I forgot I did that because
She remembered.
she would doubt herself and be like, I'm not
Oh,
smart. And I was like, honey, do you know how smart you are? And she's like, no. And I'm like, go in the bathroom, look at yourself. I want
and
you to trust and believe that you truly are smart. Like God has
Mm.
created you with this brilliant mind, but she would doubt herself. And so she reminded me and she's like, Mom, I know I'm smart. And I was like, yes,
Nice.
like having you do that for 2 years, it really stuck into where she knows she's a smart kid. And
Mm.
I can be able to have that time with my children to really teach them those core values. So those are
Yes.
some of the benefits that we have had with homeschooling our kids. And even with my husband being home through COVID, he's taken time, whether it's right after he's off of work or lunch breaks or whatever, to jump in, and he taught our daughter how to read. And that was one thing that I'm like, okay, with all the stuff I'm trying to balance and this and that, he was like, I'll take it. Let me do all the work for it. He taught
Nice.
her to read. So it's beautiful that
Nice.
that we are getting to have that one-on-one time. And he was telling me something earlier, how one of his friends, he's working at a school where a guy is a teenager and he doesn't know how to read. And I'm sitting here like heartbroken over that,
Yeah.
knowing that so many people do not know how to read. And here,
Yes.
our daughter, she's an excellent reader now. And I'm like, this
Mm.
is so beautiful.
Nice.
They're learning
Yeah.
these things. And we get to be proud to say we were part of teaching that to our kids.
Amen.
Like,
Yeah, and that's
it's,
your responsibility. That's your child.
it's
Because
incredible.
what's happening in the public schools,
Mhm,
the children are not supposed to fail. So
mhm.
anybody is supposed just to pass, right? So
Yeah,
50% minimum. So it doesn't matter whether they can read, they cannot write.
yeah,
You're just sending them to the next class, to the
yeah,
next class, to the next class, to the next class. And then they're going to graduate. And lo and behold, they cannot function in this society because things don't
yeah,
work like that. Like how
yeah,
was it a school was it in Chicago, in Colorado, where they'll be like, no, we are banning math. You know what I mean? There will be no testing anymore.
mm.
Like, no, they say testing is discrimination. Like, what do you mean testing is if you
Oh,
can't read, you
man.
can't read. That's got nothing to do with discrimination. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but this is exactly what's going on, whereby, they don't want to, if you fail, that's discrimination. You make this child fail. Well, if the child fails, they fail.
yeah,
So I'm not surprised to hear that then they get to someplace else where they can't read. It's because they were just, sent along, sent along. And plus, they're in a class with a whole bunch of other kids. One teacher has got no time to be exclusive like that with one
mhm,
child. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Unless you have a
it's
lot of money for tutoring, and I
Oh yeah, I
don't.
mean, if you have money for tutoring, that's no big deal. You can do. You can have a private tutor. They can come in.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you're good. You know what I'm saying? That's a private
Oh,
tutor.
yeah.
If you can afford it, hey, why not?
Oh, yeah.
At least they're coming in your home. You are in charge. You can still see all those things. Yeah, man.
Yes. Yeah,
You
and
know
I
how much
mean,
that will cost.
oh, yeah, yeah, and I mean,
Mm.
tutoring is fantastic. I mean, it's necessary
Mm.
when you do not have the time, but I'm grateful that even the things that I learned as a kid that I forgot about, and, like, now I'm having to reteach and go through with
Yeah,
my
exactly.
daughter.
Because you're teaching your kids, so you're also kind of like learning. You know what I mean? You're
I'm
back in
sitting there
school
looking up
again.
videos and I'm like, wait, how do I do this again? I'm like, oh, that's right. And then I'm like quickly getting it again. I'm like, this feels so good to be
Yeah.
re-going through a lot of these things that I haven't done in decades. And now
Yes.
I am going through again to work with my kids to do this. I don't know how else to explain it besides it's very, very fulfilling to
Amen.
see what your child has learned and to know you're a part of that
Mm.
is like, wow, I feel like I've accomplished it all. I've gotten to teach my kids these core values in life, how to interact with others,
Mm.
whether it's at a grocery store and they're going up to someone and we're checking out and they're like, hello. And my kids are a little shy. I'm like, say hi, and then they're sitting there, your kids are so sweet, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's so nice to see that my kids can bring a smile to a cashier at a store, who's having a bad day because my kids are wanting to talk with them and interact, or we go to the library and they're having a fun time getting to pick out fun books to do for school,
Yeah.
or going to co-op. We go to church multiple times a week. We have church on Sunday and then we go to prayer meetings. So my kids are constantly in interaction with
With other
all
people.
ages
That's nice.
all week long, which I love because all the stigmas that they have, truthfully, there's nothing that actually is truthful in that, unless you are a homeschooler who just doesn't leave your house, doesn't do anything, you don't
Mm.
interact with
I
people.
think that's
Yeah,
why people presuppose that you're
yeah,
homeschool. So that's
yeah,
it. You know what I'm saying? You're just home. You
yeah,
don't do anything else.
yeah,
So people think, oh, so if you don't do anything else, how is your kid going to do this, do this, do
yep,
this? But you guys are
yeah,
homeschooling, but you're doing other things. You're
yeah,
doing other things. So yeah, the
absolutely.
home is a starting point where it's helping them be
Yes.
able to um relate to other people, be able to speak to other people like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm glad that we've put that myth to the rest.
Yes.
So, yeah, somebody
Shutting
says,
down
I just say,
all the
no, that's a
stigmas.
myth. That is a myth. All right, Ali, if there isn't anything, if you have anything last words that you want to close us with, this has been so good and so helpful, you
I'm
know?
so glad. It's
Mm.
been wonderful. I mean, if people have questions, feel free to either check out on Facebook. There are a lot of homeschooling pages on there. I can't tell you like the amount of times I've been like, I just need to find a local group that's local to my community. Or if you're a
Mm.
Christian,
So
there's
you can
Reformed.
network with other people who are
Yeah,
also, because I think, yeah, some
yeah.
people they would want to do it, but they don't know how. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So if you get in
Yes.
touch with people who are doing it, you're talking to them. Yeah, it can be
Oh
so
yeah.
helpful. Like, whenever you're doing something, and if you find a community who are like-minded, it's
Yes.
always, always helpful, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just encourage people to, find either a homeschool co-op if you are considering to do it. That will help you build a community immediately. No joke,
Mm.
because I was going to wait until my kids were in middle school to do it. And I am so glad I did not wait any longer because the amount of women I've gotten to meet recently,
Look at
it's
that.
it's helped
Mm.
me so much within my homeschooling to just be like, wow, we have other kids who are going to the same place that my kids can interact
Mm.
with, and my girls, they've already met their best buddies, and I love that,
Nice.
knowing
Love it.
that they are building other friendships with other Christian families. Yeah, we don't all go to the same church. That's okay, but we are all brothers and sisters in Christ.
Amen.
If they are believers as well, and so I want my kids to be surrounded by
Mm,
others who are teaching their children very similarly. But
mm.
check out check out on Facebook. There's a group I'm in called Reformed Homeschoolers that you can just jump in there, ask questions. If you choose certain curriculum, check it out on Facebook, see if there's a group for it so you can get connected with people, because even for the all-in-one homeschool that I had mentioned before, there is a Facebook
Yes,
group
I've
that
shared that
ties
one.
into it. So that way you can ask questions and get help and support. So just really really think about it. I absolutely encourage people to pray about it, because ultimately getting to be in your children's lives every day, yes, it is a absolute sacrifice, but you are ultimately honoring the Lord in being
Mm.
willing to take the time to do that. And it's not always easy, but trust me, prayer will help tremendously even
Yeah,
on the
look at you.
tough
It
days.
helped you. You started with
Absolutely.
prayer. It changed the things around for your
My kids know.
whenever you start your thing in the morning. So
My kids know
that's
if they see
nice.
my eyes closed and I'm just sitting there, they know mommy's praying, because they used to interrupt me and I was like, huh, hold up. That means mommy's praying. Give me a moment. Let me finish. Because in those moments, there's times where I'm like, okay, I'm stressed. I need to pause for a second. I need to pray and get myself together before I
Mm.
continue on my day. So it's not to say things are perfect or easy or just simple. Life is all together. It's not. My house was a disaster today, but hey, that's a part of life. I'm home. We are home. We're able to take care of that stuff. I'm
Mm.
able to be with my kids. I don't have to worry about traffic going back and forth to
Oh, I
work
know. Yeah,
every day.
dropping the kids, picking them
Yeah.
up. Yeah, forgot
Yeah.
about
I mean,
that. Yeah.
I can enjoy them. So I definitely encourage people to really consider it if they are on the fence about it. Um, and really get to talk to people who homeschool one on one, and really enjoy it. Do not just listen to the stereotypes that people have about homeschoolers, because
Mm.
the majority of them are not true whatsoever. It's truly, truly an incredible thing. And now I know people who, since joining our co-op, I've met people who now their kids have graduated and they're getting good jobs, and they're saying
Nice.
how equipped that they feel because of homeschooling. And
Nice.
it's incredible. With the group that I am in now, like seeing they actually last month had some of the former graduates come in and do a panel for us to ask them questions to
Mhm.
encourage us homeschooling moms who are now in the beginning of homeschooling to say, hey, this is what you have to look forward to. They're going
Yeah.
to share that they've been through this and now on what's to look forward to on the other side of it. And it brings me so much joy and hope to know that that's what I'm looking forward to one day. It's not to guarantee my kids' salvation, because I know you
Mhm.
mentioned that before, Violet. I can't guarantee my kids' salvation by any
Mhm.
means, but I get to give them that core foundation that public schools will not give my kids. And in
Correct.
fact, will teach them the opposite of what I want
Yes.
them to hear and to
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
So that is also an absolutely incredible part of it, is that I get to teach my kids that every single day in hopes that, yes, they will come to know Christ and repent and
Amen.
trust and
Mm.
believe in him. And if you guys are listening and you don't know Jesus, please come to know him. It is the
Exactly.
greatest journey of all, to be able to trust
Amen.
in a perfect savior, knowing that he's done
Amen.
it for us. But my hopes is that my kids do come to know Christ, and I
Amen.
don't know
Mm.
where they will stand as they get older, but I'm glad I get to be here every day, guiding them and leading them through this journey of life. So, yeah.
That's good. Wonderful. Wonderful, Ari. Wonderful. All right. So yeah, man, there's always this is never exhaust we can't exhaust this topic. There's always stuff that's always
Yes.
happening. You know what I mean? Because now I've seen a couple of drag queens
Mm,
going to churches, having some
yeah.
story time. You know what I'm saying? Like in the
Mm,
school is just it's things are not getting better as far
yeah.
as these public places are concerned. Things are just getting worse. Now we added the bathroom situation where you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
they can just share the bathrooms anyhow. You don't have any control over those things. So to
Yeah.
the best of your ability, how you can protect your kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
it is your responsibility to do it. You just can't leave it to chance or it's fine, it's not a big deal. It might not be an issue now or in that particular school now, but it's just a matter of time. It's
Yeah.
going to be sooner or later, sooner
Yeah.
or later. So there's no need for us to put our head in the sand. It's just to see this is the situation. Time for us to be deploying solutions. We can't pretend and act like there's nothing that is going on. There's so much that is happening. Look what happened with Disney, right? So
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
is just there's nowhere else where you can go. So yeah. But yeah, Ari, this has been so nice.
It has been. Thanks for
I've
having me.
enjoyed this. Yes, I know. So, anytime we should do this again.
Absolutely.
Think of a topic that we can do. We can always do. The
Yes.
channel is open to you. I always enjoy talking to you all the
Thank
time.
you.
But
You
I
too,
do
Violet.
thank you that you were here. And thank you to Mr. Carlos. Okay. Give my thanks to Mr. Gonzalez. I know day
Absolutely.
Friday, so I do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Ari. Until next time,
Thank
we should
you.
definitely do this again. Okay.
Absolutely. I would love, love,
Mhm.
love to. That would be great. Thanks for
Thank
having me
you.
on, Violet. I really
I'm
appreciate
glad
it.
that you were here today. I'm glad. I'm glad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you find this to be helpful to you. Those are the put the link over there that you guys can check it out, and I'll see if Ali can get some of those links. I can always post them on my page or on her page as well, so people can get to see, or I'll put them in the description of this video. So if people catch the replay, they'll be able to see it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a nice weekend. Thank you for spending your evening with me today. Until next time, remember, theology matters.